Okay. So next up, what I wanted to ask you about is I actually wanted to ask you about Destiny. Now, when was the last time that you have spoken to Destiny?
I want to say it was a long time ago. It was probably over half a year ago, maybe a year ago. And it was about, so there was, I did one stream with Destiny, with Hassan Piker and Destiny. And, we spoke about a bunch of stuff. We ended up debating a little bit about protectionism and free trade. And if my memory serves me correctly, maybe like 2 or 3 months after that, after we had that stream, somebody sent me a clip and it was like Destiny taking like a pot shot at me or something. And I forget exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of like that my position on free trade was stupid. And so I DM'd him at the time, and I was like, "Dude, listen, man. If you have an issue with something I said or an opinion I have or whatever it might be, you can ask me for sources, and I'll send them to you. Like I have nothing against doing that. I just found it really strange that somebody would go out there and take what felt like a really gratuitous shot out of nowhere against me. Like again, I've no problem at all with him having philosophical or policy disagreements with me by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I encourage that. I like watching stuff where people disagree with me and make their case for it. But it was the way that he did it, where he like called it stupid or something like that, and it was super dismissive and glib. That I DM'd him and I was like, dude, listen, man, I'm a fan of your content. I like your stuff. You've done great work de-radicalizing people from the alt right, and like basically I was saying like I respect you, so maybe show a little bit of respect back. And if you have any questions about beliefs I have, just ask me about it instead of like sniping in the way that he did. And his response was basically something like, "I'm sorry, man." He didn't say "I'm sorry," but he's like, "I love you, buddy." Basically, like I didn't mean anything by it, kind of stuff. That was his reaction, and I was totally happy with that. I was fine. It is what it is. But I haven't spoken to him for at least 6 months, maybe a year. I think he got banned or something again on Twitter. And yeah, so that was basically the end of that.
How do you feel about the turn that he has taken over the past, like, I don't know, 6 to 8 months? Basically, right after you spoke to him.
Yeah, yeah, I don't, I obviously don't agree with him as much now as I did before this recent, you know, this couple months turn that he made. What were some of the things that really led to where he is now? Do you know? Because I haven't followed it as closely as you,
Do you
so I
mean
don't
like what
know.
caused him to say those things, or like the
No, no,
things that
no.
he said?
What were the positions that he's been taking recently, where everybody's like, "Whoa"?
So it really started out with his he like called workers dumb was kind of the first thing. That was the original thing. And then since then he's been sort of backing away on Medicare for all and free college and stuff like that. And so he's been having some pretty centrist positions on a lot of those issues. And he's pretty much a Mayor Pete supporter basically.
Wow.
Yeah, so
um, yeah, I saw the thing where you spoke to him. I wasn't able to watch the whole thing, but I saw the headline and I saw some of what people were saying about it. And apparently, he called me a hack and he called me a shill for Bernie. Is
yeah.
that true?
Yeah, so he
Okay.
called you a hack because so he says that you're a political hack basically. And his example is that you said that black people don't support Pete Buttigieg because of his policy positions, and so he called you a hack for that.
By the way, I don't think he even watches my stuff because that's, for him to his go-to example as to why I'm such a hack is like a offhand tweet. That's a little bit surprising. Like because of all the things I've been saying all this time, that's the thing he goes to. And by the way, the reason for saying something like that is very simple. When you look at polls of the entire country, people overwhelmingly in this country support Medicare for all. They overwhelmingly support. Obviously, that depends on how you ask the question, to be fair. But in any way where you ask it where it's minimally objective, overwhelming support for Medicare for all, overwhelming support for free college. Okay? When you go to polls of Democratic voters, overwhelming support for Medicare for all, overwhelming support for free college, overwhelming support for getting money out of politics. And Mayor Pete has never really taken off in the black community at all. So, and Mayor Pete is an active opponent of Medicare for all. He's an active opponent of free college, and he's an active opponent of getting money out of politics. So, to act like that's not a logical comment to make, it's just a logical deduction. It's an inference. Oh, look at this. Democratic voters overwhelmingly support Medicare for all, free college, and getting money out of politics. Pete Buttigieg is a vocal opponent of those things. So, yes, maybe the people in the black community who know of Mayor Pete, because I think many of them don't even know who he is, to be fair, okay? But of the ones that know him, yes, maybe the fact that he's a very vocal opponent of three policies which are really, really popular in Democratic circles, maybe that turns them off to Mayor Pete. To take issue with a comment like that is kind of mind-boggling. It's kind of mind-boggling. Now, if he just wants to disagree with that and say, hey, here's why I think you're wrong, totally fine. And I think we could have a reasonable disagreement on that. But to act like that position of mine and that thing I said is stupid or crazy, that just means you're not familiar with the polling data. And you're not familiar with the idea of making a logical inference and a jump on, oh, this is Democratic voters overwhelmingly support these things. The black community are overwhelmingly Democratic voters, about 90%. So therefore, maybe that's one of the reasons why. So, and also, listen, man, I have to say, I've been doing this full time since 2012, okay? I can't name a single time anybody, even my biggest detractors, maybe there were some in the comment section, but if there were, I didn't see them. I can think of any time anybody's ever called me a shill or a hack. You want to know why? Because even my biggest opponents, if they are familiar with my work enough, they'll say like, oh, yeah, he's honest, but I just disagree with him. So I have to say, it honestly, it just makes me sad that a guy who I liked, like, that's his categorization of my stuff, which again, I'm relatively convinced he doesn't watch almost any of it, but that's his categorization of my stuff, that I'm a hack. Like, why the negative connotation and the negative spin on it? Like that terminology implies that like I'm swindling people or like there's something, nefarious about my support of Bernie. It's almost like I'm getting penalized for my honesty about how I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. Like I see the difference is you go to mainstream media, they won't tell you who they support, but they do support somebody. And all of their coverage is flavored by who they support and what their personal biases are. Me, on the other hand, I'm upfront with my bias. I tell everybody, hey, I support Bernie Sanders, and my philosophy is social democratic. I tell everybody up front, but somehow I'm a hack? No, I'm super honest about my beliefs. Super honest about it. And there's no reason to put it like your little negative spin on it. Just say, oh, he's a Bernie Sanders supporter. Yes, I've openly said that. And the idea that I'm a shill for Bernie Sanders, again, anybody who knows my work will know what? Boycott, divestment, and sanctions, the BDS movement. Massive disagreements with Bernie Sanders on that, spoken about it publicly. Sex work and legalizing, taxing, and regulating prostitution. I'm open about the fact that that's a position I support. He doesn't support that position. I've covered it and I've disagreed with him. I don't agree with Bernie Sanders' federal jobs guarantee idea. I disagree with Bernie on UBI. He's against UBI. I'm for UBI. Bernie Sanders was a big proponent of Russiagate. I was the harshest critic of Russiagate you could find on the left, bar maybe one or two other people. Impeachment. I've had disagreements on impeachment with Bernie Sanders. Cenk Uygur. I just did a tweet the other day where I was talking about how this is why the left loses, because you throw people under the bus for naughty comments. The idea that I'm a shill for him when I'm a giant supporter of his and I'm open and honest and upfront with that. But I do have disagreements with him, and I vocalize them. People in my own video, when I covered sex work, remember when, he said, oh, no, I'm sorry, decriminalizing all drugs. Andrew Yang came out for decriminalizing all drugs. Bernie said to Crystal Ball on Rising, I'm not there yet. And I did a segment where I basically said, you know how I know he's BSing? Because he says yet. In other words, he's saying, like, I know that that's the place I have to get to. I know that I have to evolve to that position, but I'm not there yet. So in other words, Bernie's making a political calculation, and he knows that the thing he's saying is not the thing he actually believes and the correct policy. So I criticized him for that. People in my own comment section were saying like, oh, he's just doing this because he wants to win and he's really close and this is the correct answer he should give if he wants to win. So like the idea that I'm called a hack or a shill or any of that, honestly, it's just like I'm genuinely saddened by it. That a guy like him, who's as intelligent as he is, would like choose to put such a gross negative spin on the support of the candidate that I openly support. And it's just, I'm just saddened by it, man. I just wish that he wasn't doing what he's doing now, because he has done a lot of good work de-radicalizing people from the alt-right. But and the other thing is apparently he called me a socialist.
Yeah, he seems to mix people up a lot with that.
That,
I'm
but
not
that's what I'm
sure.
saying is like anybody. I've how many times, Sahil, have I said on my show I'm a social democrat?
A
I've
lot.
I've
A
literally
lot.
argued with socialists about why I think social democracy is preferable
Yeah.
to socialism. So people in my own audience, a lot of them come after me because they want me to be further left. I've given my beliefs three descriptions. You could either call me libertarian left, populist left, or a social democrat. I've said that a million times, and he comes out there and acts like, I'm a socialist, and like me and Michael Brooks are perfectly in simpatico and agreement on everything. Of course, that's not true, and anybody who watches my stuff would know that. Which makes this extra sad is that he definitely doesn't watch my show, and yet he's lobbing bombs and calling me a hack and a shill, which is just beyond preposterous. And honestly, it's just silly. And again, uh, it just makes me sad because it makes me wish that I never like associated with him in the first place, went on his show in the first place, because I don't need this BS. I don't need another very popular person in this space that we're in taking shots at me and lobbing bombs at me, and it's like why would I have wasted my time in the first place if I knew he was going to do a weird heel turn and like take shots at me and broadcast that to his giant audience when he obviously doesn't even watch my show and know what I really even talk about.
Yeah, and I don't think the pot shots are gonna stop either, so they're probably still gonna keep coming.
Yeah, well, it's whatever, because now I'm totally tuning it out because you lost me. And it's like, again, I'm more than happy. I know that he has disagreements with me on policy. And I know that, he is genuinely more in the center than I am. Dude, that's totally fine. That's fine. All I ask is you don't take unnecessary, gratuitous pot shots that are asinine, that don't even accurately categorize what my beliefs are. I mean, it's just ridiculous. A shill for Bernie Sanders. I'm one of the strongest Bernie Sanders supporters who has also disagreed with him when I think he's wrong, and I've been vocal about that and open with that for my audience. So the fact that I'm being accused of, like, the thing that I am least guilty of being, I think that massively triggers me and really upsets me. And again, I'm just saddened by it. Like, I don't usually have, like an emotional reaction to stuff that happens in this space, because it's like, it is what it is. I try to tune out the noise as much as possible and just kind of do my thing and go about my business. But for whatever reason, when I saw that he called me a shill and a hack, I was really upset by it. I was like, wow, he really believes that. I was really floored by it, and that really did upset me. And again, I'm not one to get upset by this stuff, but that really did upset me. Perhaps because it's coming from somebody who I really think has done amazing work in the past, de-radicalizing people from the alt-right. But like, because that's one of the things, by the way, that I'm most proud of. There are two things that I'm most proud of so far that I've done. One of them is obviously co-founding Justice Democrats, which has been wildly successful beyond my, wildest imagination. The other thing is all the people who come at me at Politicon and elsewhere and tell me, dude, I was in a bad place and you saved me from that like alt-right pipeline. And I take so much pride in that, and that makes me so happy. And to know that somebody else who's done that same thing and has had a tremendously positive effect has said those things about me, it genuinely hurts. It hurts. If you can't tell, I'm triggered by it, which is why I've been like a little bit emotional here in describing it.